So we were now on to day 11 and we were travelling from Budva in Montenegro to Pristina in Kosovo. Now on the way we had to cross the border into Albania because we were catching a ferry there that morning. Now we were up really early, we were up at 4 o'clock and on the road by 4:30. Now the reason being it was 164 kilometres from Budva to where we caught the ferry in Albania, and it was going to take about 4 hours to get there, so we were up and out early. Now we had planned to go on the ferry. It actually suited us because it was on the way from Montenegro to Kosovo anyway, so we had booked our tickets in advance. Now you have to book the tickets in advance. There's no point in turning up that morning because you won't get on the ferry. It's quite a small ferry and you need to pre-book it. I think you go on to the Komani Lake website and you pay through PayPal and get your tickets in advance, so make sure you do that. But anyway, the reason we decided to go that way was because I looked at some reviews of the lake itself and the scenery is spectacular. Now there's up to 70 mountain peaks rising to about 2,000 meters. Now the lake itself was formed, I think, back in the late 70s sometime when they built a hydroelectric dam across the River Drin. Now the lake itself is 34 square kilometers and it goes from Komani to a place called Fiesa, I think that's the pronunciation, and it takes about 3 hours to complete the journey. Now after leaving Montenegro and crossing into Albania, it's actually like going back about 40 or 50 years when you cross the border. Montenegro is well developed. It's like any other European country. It's quite modern, but when you step into Albania, it's definitely like going back in time. And especially the road going down to the ferry, the last 30 kilometers or so of that road is just absolutely appalling. I think we had pigs and ducks and all sorts of farm animals running across the road in front of us at one stage. The potholes on it are atrocious. You could lose the whole bike into a pothole if you weren't careful. And look, my bike wasn't too bad. It was the GS was set up well enough to handle roads like that, but I think Gary found it tough going on the Kawasaki. Now in fairness, apart from the last 30 kilometers or that, the roads weren't too bad. When we crossed the border we were actually running low on petrol and we had to pull into a filling station to get to fill up, but we couldn't pay in euros, so we had to pay by credit card, and the attendant was kind of pointing out to us how much it was, and we didn't really understand with the difference in currency what we were actually paying, and we weren't sure whether we were being ripped off or not. But look, in fairness, we weren't. Everything was 100%. There was no need for us to be panicking at all. Now, the woman we had met on the ferry in Budva said that Albania is lovely and the people were lovely, and she, in fairness, she was right. It's a really nice country and I'd highly recommend if you do get the chance to swing by that way. But anyway, on to the ferry.
Huh?
Will you prepare it?
Yeah.
Everything good?
I do, yeah.
Welcome. For the ferry?
Yeah.
Everything good?
Yeah.
Port tax tunnel €1.50 terminal tax.
What you want?
Port tax tunnel €1.50 motor.
turn off and go down. I'm helping you with the cord. Understand?
So the last bit of the journey before you get onto the ferry, you come down through that tunnel there. And as you've seen, a couple of the guys ask you if you've got tickets. If you haven't, they're not going to let you on. But anyway, that last guy that stopped me, he was looking for €1.50. He said it was a government tax or something like that. Now, I don't know whether it was or not, or whether you're being scammed, but look, €1.50, it's not going to break anyone anyway. But we eventually got on to the ferry, got the bikes parked up, and the woman we stayed with in Budva the night before had left a bag of food at her door for us that morning to bring with us. There was croissants and stuff in it. So we had a bit of food anyway, but I walked back up onto the pier and there was a guy there and he was cooking hot dogs, so I just fancied something hot. So we decided we get one of them. Now, don't ask me what was in it. It wasn't beef, it wasn't lamb, it wasn't chicken. I don't really know what it was, and I don't really want to guess at what it was either, but to be honest with you, after the 4-hour drive and the bad roads and everything else, I was glad to get something hot. So I got a couple of hot dogs and myself and Gary sat down and ate them. Now, despite whatever was in them, they tasted good on the morning, and they kept the hunger at bay for another while. There are other boats operating from Komani. I think they bring people out to the certain parts of the lake shore where they have holiday homes, and operates adventure sports like hiking and canoeing and stuff like that. Now, if you're interested in stuff like that, you can look it up online, and I'm sure you'll find details about it. But most people like us just catch the ferry itself. Now, you can do a round trip. You can go to the other end and do the return journey back again if you want. I think our ferry left at 9, it gets in the other side at 12:30 and returns again at 1, so it only goes once a day each way. So like I said, have your ticket booked well in advance. The lake is kind of more like a really wide river. It wouldn't be your traditional lake where it would be, say, very wide. It's more of a feel of a river about it. Now, to be honest with you, if you're from Ireland and you've been down around Connemara and you've seen lots of mountains and lots of rocks, look, it was a good experience and it was nice to see, but after about an hour it's a bit repetitive now, to be honest. Look, we enjoyed it at the same time. I think it was just the early start and being on the road early. It kind of just took a bit out of us, and maybe we didn't enjoy it as much. But anyway, look, I'll play a bit of footage here, and you can have a look for yourselves. So that was it for the Komani ferry. We were back on the road and heading on towards Kosovo. Now, the only thing I'll say is if you are thinking of getting the ferry, try and stay near the terminal maybe the night before. Now, there's very little around that area, but I think there is a couple of B&Bs, so you'd be better off staying there and just heading straight to the ferry the next morning. But anyway, after leaving the ferry and heading on up the road, Gary was videoing me coming up the road, and when I pulled up, a car started pointing towards the bike. I didn't know what was wrong, but while we were on the ferry, the bag of food that the woman had given us in Budva, Gary had hung it on one of my foot pegs, on the passenger foot peg, and I never seen it, and it was dragging along the road while I was driving along. But anyway, that's what happened there. So away we went again, back on the road and heading for what would be our third last country. Now when we reached the border between Albania and Kosovo, there was no one checking on the Albanian side, so we drove up to the border post on the Kosovo side. We had to go into the office there and fill out some paperwork. I think your man charged us something like €10. It was a government charge for going into Kosovo. Now to check your paperwork thoroughly there as well, and he made us fill out some form and gave us back some paperwork, but I don't know, don't ask me what it was, I couldn't read what was on it anyway. So off we went, heading towards Pristina. Now when we reached Pristina, it was late afternoon and traffic was crazy. Now if you're ever driving over there, you want to be very wary, because they just pull out anywhere they like. It's a kind of a free-for-all there, so it is. So just watch what you're doing if you are ever driving over there. But when we reached the hotel, I think it was the Hotel International Pristina. Now it was a few miles outside the city centre. There was a lot of building work going on around the place, but the hotel itself was top class. I think myself and Gary paid, it was €78 between us, and I think it's a 4 or 5 star hotel. It had swimming pool, sauna, jacuzzi, it had everything really, you know. It was great value for the money. But anyway, we parked the bikes up and the usual, got the shower and headed on into the city. Now Mother Teresa Boulevard seems to be the place to go in Pristina city centre. It's where all the shops and restaurants are, so we headed in there and walked around for a while having a look. There's a lot of memorials to the war dead in the city centre. Now we couldn't read the inscriptions on the memorials themselves. I don't know what it said, but there was a few of them around anyway. But after having a look around, we headed down to the end of the street, found a restaurant there just on the edge of the square, and sat there for the evening, had a meal and a few drinks. It was very nice. Pristina is a really nice place. It's a good vibe about it. Now the waiter that was serving us in the restaurant, Gary, I reckon he was a bit touchy-feely, but anyway, he was a nice guy, and I'd say he was just more interested in getting a good tip than anything. He actually rang a taxi for us at the end of the night, and he was quite helpful. So that was day 11 came to an end, and we were off to North Macedonia the next day. So that's it for day 11. See you in the next one.